rule. Remember, ATMs have run out of cash or have shut down because they're overloaded. Banks will remain closed right through the day tomorrow, but you can use the current 500 and 1,000 rupee notes in the pharmacies of government hospitals, in train stations at the counter, and at the counter of airlines in airports. This is to accommodate those who are traveling right now or those who might be sick. But great idea there from Dhirendra Kumar. If there's a piggy bank that you have at home that one of your children has been saving, it'll come in handy because it will be small coins and small denominations, and you can use that to tide over the next couple of days. Our Prime Minister there saying that it's a small inconvenience that most citizens are going to be willing to put up with for the larger benefit of weeding out black money from the system. Shushmita Das is on the phone line as well. Shushmita, go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah, hi. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So we are a group of journalists from Indian Institute of Journalism New Media from Bangalore. So we are at Ankola right now, and we are here for rural reporting, and we are a group of journalists from Indian Institute of Journalism New Media from Bangalore. So we are at Ankola right now. We don't know where to exchange the money from because the rural reporting, and we are a group of journalists from Indian Institute of Journalism New Media from Bangalore. So we are at Ankola right now. We don't know where to exchange the money from because the rural reporting, and we are a group of journalists from Indian Institute of Journalism New Media from Bangalore. So we are at Ankola right now. We don't know where to exchange the money from because the rural reporting, and we are a group of journalists from Indian Institute of Journalism New Media from Bangalore. So we are at Ankola right now. We don't know where to exchange the money from because the rural reporting, and we are a group of journalists from Indian Institute of Journalism New Media from Bangalore. So we are at Ankola right now. We don't know where to exchange the money from because the rural reporting, and
Wet dry skin.
Exactly.
Gold Bond Men's Lotion. Everyday moisture hydrates dry skin. Intensive therapy keeps extra dry skin smooth. All with 7 intensive moisturizers and skin strengthening proteins. Man up.
Me.
If you live,
I think for people to stop accepting impossible, they can easily go one day later and exchange that money because that's legitimate. Anybody who is buying petrol has to do that after showing an ID. So I think there is a little bit of a panic reaction because
Asked for in cash or black when you're making a real estate purchase. All that is going to change now. Actually, for salaried people, I feel a certain sense of vindication that this time we get to win.
Yes, this is a paradigm change. You know, there's a shift of a unimaginable magnitude. I would say that this is an economic development of of a scale which was almost like 1991, the liberalization move that we saw from that government. But getting on to a much smaller thing, the previous question, if somebody has a debit card, then I think it'll make it easier for somebody to pay, because most of the ATM cards are actually also a debit card. So if that will make all the payments easier for for your hotels and other things, even on a petrol pump. If you have money in your bank account, then it makes it easier. Yes, we were talking about this change. I think this is of a completely different scale, and a lot of people are in panic right now. I'm quite worried about the scale of disruption it will happen in the it will cause in the trade, the kind of businesses which are dominantly run on cash, but real estate, it is a complete reset. This is actually the beginning of the real estate era of a completely different kind. Today we find that so far the black component and the cash component and the check was used interchangeably. The value of a property might be 5 crore, and it will be said that pay 4 crore in cash and another 1 crore in, and there will be a circle rate, and it will have no reference to the reality. I think all that is going to change.
That's fair, Narendra. In fact, we're getting visuals right now coming in on the screen from various parts of India where we see long queues outside petrol stations, outside ATMs. There is, like we expected, a certain level of panic. Our advice to all viewers right now is not to panic. It's not wise to draw money from an ATM tonight especially, unless you're completely running out of cash. Try and make do with the money that you have in the house. Make all of your payments online. Try and use apps or whatever payments that you can use to get through the next half a day. I think ATM should start working after that in the next half a day. Tejas is on the phone line from Pune. Tejas, we understand, works with HDFC Bank. Tejas, go ahead. We can hear you. What's your question?
Hi, thank you for considering my question. First of all, I would like to thank the government for taking the very good initiative to curb the black money. My question is very simple. If I go to the ATM, will I get updated the new 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees note, or what exactly it is, and by when it is updated?
Well, that is an excellent question. Shailesh Haribhakti, what we heard from the RBI is that the new notes will be issued soon. We haven't been given a date. But what do you think the ATMs will begin dispensing from tomorrow? Because they've run out of cash tonight. They'll have to be restocked tomorrow. When do you think we can expect to see the new notes?
See, what they have done is that the limit on withdrawals going forward for the next few days is 4,000 rupees only. So my thought is that this will be withdrawn in 100 rupee notes, which are legal tender. And just as the supply of the new 500 rupee notes and the new 2,000 rupee notes gets circulated, then the ATMs will be filled up with those new notes. So to answer the question that was raised, you will get back, when the ATMs are open, legal tender. Because the ATMs can only dispense legal tender, which could be the new 500 rupee notes and the new 2,000 rupee notes.
All right, so expect 100 rupee notes until the new 2,500s are released. But in the meantime, that's possibly what ATMs are going to be dispensing. Dr. Kiran is on the phone line from Jalandhar. Dr. Kiran, go ahead, we can hear you.
My query about the deposit amount is the one. Is there a limit to the amount that can be deposited? Since I am a taxpayer,
yes,
and I had withdrawn money from my salary account, but due to some reasons a business transaction regarding land could not materialize, so that money is lying with me. Now I just want to know, can I deposit that money en bloc, or will it have to be deposited piecemeal?
Well, there are two questions here we should focus on. One is land dealings, which we'll come to. But Shailesh Haribhakti, 5 lakh rupees, can it be deposited en bloc in one shot? Will that be allowed?
Of course. Absolutely. No problem whatsoever. No restriction on depositing any amount of money for the 50-day period which you mentioned, Faye, at the beginning of the show. Absolutely none. But if you are depositing money which you can't explain where you got it from, then you are in a bit of questioning from the income tax department. So don't do it without a very legitimate, trackable transaction for which you have withdrawn and which you are now redepositing. No limits on redepositing.
40 or 50 lakh rupees, Shailesh Haribhakti, if I can prove that it came out of my bank account or I have a legitimate reason to hold on to that much cash, that will be accepted?
Absolutely. No question. No question whatsoever.
Okay. I also have a quick question for Dhenendra Kumar. Dhenendra, that came up, the fact that, and this is the pain really, salaried person holding on to 5 lakh rupees for a land dealing. And we understand that land is a way to sort of deposit money and hold on to black money in this country. That will change drastically, especially for the north and the west of the country, where a lot of the money gets locked up in land. That will impact the land market. and that entire money laundering system that's, that's sort of being used there.
Absolutely. I think, people have not been able to fathom as yet that this is just not demonetization of 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. Your assets which were acquired with cash in bulk, that has been, that has been devalued substantially. I really wonder that, when you have a transaction of 50 crore or 100 crore happening on land, how will happen tomorrow? Will it all happen by while the previous transaction?
Having some kind of problem with that connection. But Mr. Haribhakti, I want to go back to the question we were answering about the young lady who called us saying that she has 5 lakh rupees in hand, and you said even if that's 40 lakh rupees and you have a legitimate reason to hold on to it, that shouldn't be a problem. But here's my question. Is there a rule at all in our country for the amount of money or the amount of cash that an individual can hold at home with a legitimate reason?
Absolutely no rule. If you have earned, let us say, 1 crore of rupees, and you decide for whatever reason you want to go on jewelry, you want to buy white goods, there could be so many reasons why you want to withdraw money and keep it. If you are, for example, in the midst of a home change, you might want to just keep a little bit of cash because as people come in with various goods into your home, you may just want to pay it off. So absolutely no restriction on that. The restriction is you should not beware of being caught with money that you can't explain or money on which you have not paid taxes. That is the kind of money that you need to be worried about. All your legitimate money can be transacted exactly as it was being done previously.
All your legitimate money can be transacted. And I have a question. Before I go into break, Narendra, a friend of mine, Clyde, has written in saying, my son is worried about the 500 rupees he has in his piggy bank. So obviously, from that point of view, his son will be part of that experience of taking his 500 rupees, going to the nearest bank and changing it for a brand new 500 rupees, a story that he can grow up and tell his children someday. We're going to take a quick break. Our phone lines remain open. We're going to stay live for another 20 minutes or so. So if you have a question, pick up the phone, call us very quickly. We'll be back after this quick break.
I'm afraid you're suffering from FOBO.
Phobo.
FOBO. FOBO. Fear of better options. Darling, do you know how much I love you?
This belongs to you.
Dare. Explore.
The RBI, we have footage of those new notes. Those designs were unveiled by the RBI Governor Urjit Patel not too long ago. They look very different, and they're making very clear between the old and the new notes. The idea here is to make sure that the people who have hoards of cash, like Mr. Haribhakti pointed out, under their couch cushions or in their tijoris, that money is now paper and worth absolutely nothing. Now, for those of us who are holding on to cash, who have legitimate reasons to have that cash, which is you withdrew it from an account or it's part of your salary, you can take it back to your bank in the next 2 days, right up till the 30th of December, which gives you 50 days, which is a lot of time. And you can exchange your existing notes for new notes. So there really isn't any reason to panic other than the next 2 days. If you have a very serious payment to make, it makes sense to make it online or to use your cards rather than using cash. Joining me on the show, staying with me on the show, Shailesh Haribhakti and Dhirendra Kumar, who've been answering questions very kindly of viewers who've been calling us. Our phone lines remain open. If you have a question, pick up the phone and call us. Eden is on the phone line from Guwahati. Eden is a student. Eden, go ahead. What's your question? Eden, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eden. What's your question?
Yeah, my question was that the people who had withdrawn the notes of rupees 500 and rupees 1000, and they are not having the notes of rupees 100, 20 and 50, whatever it is, in their home. So how they will manage to live these 2 days? Because the ATMs are closed and they cannot withdraw rupees 100 and all. And now they are not being able to do anything right now. Only they have 500 and 1000 rupee note. So how they will manage these 2 days?
Well, that's a fair question. I know everybody's asking that question right now. We've answered it a couple of times, so we're going to answer it one more time. Dhirendra, what do we do if we only have 1000 rupee notes or 500 rupee notes for the next 2 days?
Whatever note you have, try and give it to somebody with a promise to exchange in future. And everybody will be aware of this constraint which everybody, every person wanting to purchase something will be facing. So hopefully, if your surrounding is little considerate, you will have no problem. I think it's a very temporary problem. If this is, it does not look all that unplanned. Maybe, we will have this resolution of, banks enabling exchange in reasonable number way too early than anticipated. So I think this is a very temporary problem. You will have a problem for maybe half a day or at worst till tomorrow evening. And if you're just short of cash, you'll have to manage only with that. And if you have if you have money in the bank and if you have a debit card and possibly, some avenues, at least in the cities, you will have a mechanism of being able to pay for anything that you purchase. I don't think life will be that difficult. Yes, a lot of people who are out of the banking net, who will have this 500 rupee note, will not have any currency of smaller denomination. They will have to, depend on the generosity of the seller to be able to accept this. Maybe your 500 rupee get discounted by some not so, not so nice shopkeepers. They will say that, all right, you have this 500, but I'll give you stuff worth 450 rupee. I think we will have all these kind of stories coming up in coming days. But I think my impression is that all these problems will be very short term. Long term, if ramifications are going to be, I'm still not able to grapple with all the kind of impact it will have.
Basically, the long-term impact on various industries that function largely with cash is something we're going to discover over the next few months at least. Paramita Roy is on the phone line from Pune. Paramita, go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah, hi. Good evening to everybody. So I have a quick question. Like, there is a situation, if some person is like medically ill, not in a position to really go tomorrow and do the exchange, or maybe in 2 days, maybe not really urgent at which requires really some hospitalization or something, but maybe medically ill, wherein he is not in a position to go to bank and do the exchange. So in those situations, like the few amount that people normally in normal households they keep at their home, so how they would be like really counteract with this solution, like in 2 days you need to go and exchange.
Paramita, do you have someone in particular that you're concerned about who's unwell?
Actually, my father-in-law is like out of station, so he just traveled to West Bengal from Asansol. So, obviously, we will have some cash at our home. So now he is medically a little bit ill at West Bengal, so wherein he is not in a position to go tomorrow to Asansol, back to Asansol, and really do the change. So in this situation, like, how do you suggest like people would react or take this situation, like how they would do the exchange or something? If you can just provide some suggestions.
Two things I must remind you. One, Paramita, is that all government hospital pharmacies, so medical stores, will continue to accept 500 and 1000 rupee notes. So that's one solution. Secondly, there are 50 days in which you can make that exchange. So it's not something that has to be done tomorrow. It can be done over the course of several days. Mr. Aribakti, what advice do you have for Paramita right now and her father-in-law who's unwell? And in West Bengal, he's traveling, he's ill, he might not have the, might not be in a position to get his money changed over the next couple of days. What advice would you give them?
I think the best thing would be for Paramita to, if he has to go into a private hospital, to make sure that the money is remitted electronically to that hospital. That would be one way of overcoming the problem. The other way is that her father-in-law deposits his 1,500 if it's a private hospital, and in exchange for the remittance, he will be given back his money, which he can bring back when he comes back to Pune, deposit it into his bank account, and get the fresh currency, which is legal tender. So it's a little bit of an inconvenience, but it's not a huge problem.
Right, it is an inconvenience, and we recall the Prime Minister making his announcement some time ago, who very clearly said it is going to be an inconvenience. It's something the government just as well realizes. But the Prime Minister said, I'm sure that the people, the patriotic people of this country, will be willing to put up with a couple of days of inconvenience for the greater good. And the greater good here is to weed out black money from the system entirely. And imagine what a difference it will make to our market. So this is every time you've wanted to buy real estate and someone told you to make a portion of that payment in cash, that feeling that it left you with, this is to weed out that problem and to even the playing field between those of us who function on salaried accounts, who have TDS, with those who don't pay tax. This is vindication for those of us who pay taxes. Ramachandran is on the phone line from Chennai. Ramachandran, go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah. I just want to first congratulate our Prime Minister on a terrific move. After the Guy Fawkes night, please remember the 5th of November. I think this is the most spectacular thing that has happened to our country. My only question is, what is the total value in terms of total rupee value, in terms of the demonetization that has taken effect for us? How many lakh crores would be out of the system because of this?
So basically, how many lakh crores, what is the value of the money that we have demonetized? I'm not sure if that amount is available right now. Dhirendra or Mr. Haribhakti, I'll start with Dhirendra. Dhirendra, you want to take a stab at that? What is the value of the amount that we've demonetized tonight in India?
After the announcement, I actually heard Baba Ramdev talking about a number that the scale of money which is going to get demonetized is 5 lakh crore. And I'm not very sure about the veracity of this number, but my sense is that it will be of a larger scale, because what the Prime Minister himself said, that the amount of money in circulation, these 500 and 1,000 rupee note account for 80% of that. So my understanding of the cash economy or the currency in circulation will be of a larger scale than just 5 lakh crore.
Mr. Haribhakti, do you believe that it will be more or less than 5 lakh crore? Where would you peg that number?
Actually, it is much, much more, but the net effect of this is what we must really be worried about. Because once the banks are open day after tomorrow to get the legit money redeposited and the fresh money issued, then there is no net sort of decline in the value of the currency. It is just an exchange of the currency. And in that exchange, what is happening is that people who have either not paid their taxes or not kept the money in the right manner, they will lose the benefit. The demonetization can actually be a very much smaller net figure, because it will all depend on how people deal with the money which they have, which they can't explain, and that will simply become not useful anymore.
We also have Sandeep Pan, who's on the phone line from Bangalore with a question for us. Sandeep Pan, go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah, sir, I have a query. I am basically from Calcutta, West Bengal, and now I am based out of Bangalore, and I do have around 5,000 to 7,000 rupees of 500 rupees and 1,000 rupees note laying at my Calcutta residence. However, there is no one at my residence, and in next 60 days we do not have any plans to visit Calcutta. So what will happen to those 5,000 to 7,000 rupees after 30th of December?
That is a very unfortunate question. Dhirendra Kumar, do you want to answer that? Okay, Shailesh is already answering it. Shailesh, Haribhakti, do you want to answer that?
No, I really don't have an answer. I think you'll have to plan your trip.
You'll have to plan your trip. So you have to decide what's worth more, the trip to Calcutta at this point, or these 5,000 to 7,000 rupees that's left in the house. Shailesh Haribhakti, we just patch in your audio. What advice would you give him?
No. Faye, you don't need to go that far. If he doesn't have plans to go, he should have a plan to go latest by March 2017, because post that day, instead of it being exchanged at the bank, his money will be exchangeable at the Reserve Bank of India. So there's a further 3-month window of exchange which is possible at the Reserve Bank of India. So he does not need to worry about it unless he does not plan to go back right until March 2017, in which case there is a genuine problem.
Let's ask him that. Sandeepan, can you make a trip before March 2017?
That is quite possible.
All right, so there's good news for you and anybody else who is panicking then, that Mr. Haribhakti is telling us that you can, after the deadline of the 30th of December, for the next 3 months after that, still change your money at the RBI. Not at the banks or the post offices, as will be the case in the next 2 days to the next 50 days following. But after that, you will be able to change the money at the RBI. So there's really no reason to panic. It does seem like the government has thought this through very, very carefully. If you have any more questions, of course, you can get back to us. Narendra, let's, I was tempted to ask both of you this question, and the question is about gold. That's another, asset class that's sort of interchangeable with cash in our country. Mr. Haribhakti, what do you think the impact will be on the gold market from this massive change that we're seeing?
No, the entire cash transactions in gold have more or less come to a halt the minute they levied these 1% tax, so that the gold which you buy becomes trackable. So once it becomes trackable, people would be buying it for cash only at their own peril. So I think they've already tackled gold. They've tackled real estate in terms of trackability, and now they've tackled it in terms of demonetizing the high value currency. So I think virtually there is no use of keeping illegitimate cash floating around in your home. That is the message that we need to take away today.
There is no use of keeping illegitimate cash in your home anymore. Selvi is on the phone line from Trichy. Selvi, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, ma'am. I have 2 questions, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
What will be the impact on share market tomorrow due to this new currency issued by the RBI? And one more question.
Yes.
Will it bring down the Indian money value against the other country currencies?
Okay, these are very good questions. Narendra, what impact are you expecting on the market when it opens up? We've seen the market over the last 2 years since the Modi government came into power cheer every move against black money. Are you expecting a similar cheer in the market tomorrow?
I don't know. There will be disruption for many companies. There will be, and of course, broadly, I feel that, this is great news for the economy. But markets are extremely, cyclical or, very moody on such occasion. And also it coincides with, tomorrow's, tomorrow we are also going to get the US presidential election results. So that's a very significant news, and we have a lot of expectations factored in the market. So that I think will be a bigger factor, because FIIs now influence our market far more. But this particular move, I'm still not able to. This has such a mixed impact on different set of the market. But generally speaking, I think it is long term greatly positive. We have to be really very happy about what has happened, and it is legitimizing a good
for you a little bit. Let me turn that question around for you a little bit. We normally talk about retail investors. So let's assume then retail investors who are watching, who have either mutual funds or stocks in their portfolio, these are long-term portfolios, there will be a period when the market digests this information. So I'm assuming real estate stocks will be down tomorrow, some other stocks, banking stocks will be up. There'll be that period of volatility where all of the information, including the US elections, is digested by the market. But if I'm a long-term investor, I should just wait this out, because it doesn't matter to me. In the long term, it's good for the economy, it's good for me. Isn't that true?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Long-term investors
absolutely
should not worry,
true.
And I think
absolutely
they should be
true.
looking at it as kind of
very positive.
Right, Mr. Haribhakti, quick question for you. We also had, Selvi asked us about Forex. Do you expect that the Indian rupee value in comparison to foreign exchange will come down? Do you believe that is true if on the long term? Because tomorrow, let's not attempt here to call the US elections and figure out how the FIRs are going to react to us. So they will be up and down tomorrow. But over the long term, is there going to be an impact?
None whatsoever. I think all the factors which are influencing the rupee US dollar exchange rate will continue to operate as before. The demonetization will have a very marginal, if any, impact on the rupee dollar, which is the key exchange rate that all of us look at.
All right, we also have Ruxana, who's on the phone line right now. Ruxana has a question in Mumbai. Ruxana, go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah, I'm Ruxana Rabadi from Mumbai. My question is that my nephew is getting married on the 12th of November. Now, as you all know, for Indian weddings, we need to pay, for the hall, for the flower decoration, this, that, everything. We need to pay in thousands and lakhs of rupees. Now, where at this time, where will we get that money from? And besides, there is another angle to this also, that during weddings, we get cash as gifts. Okay, now if people give us 500 and 1,000 rupee notes as cash, then can we legitimately go to the bank and show them that there was a wedding and we have received, because it turns out to be in lakhs, this amount. So can we legitimately go to the bank and tell them that there was a wedding and we have got this money? Do we show the wedding card? Do we show the wedding certificate? How does one go about it? Can you please clarify?
Ruxana, I'm so glad you called because it's an excellent, excellent question. It's wedding season across the country, and we'll have people who are part of the family of someone who's getting married or somebody who's maybe going to a wedding. Mr. Haribhakti, first of all, for people who are going to receive cash gifts at a wedding, if someone comes to a wedding and gives you 500 rupee notes, that person is not really your friend, is there? But what can you do with those 5,000 rupee notes if you've received it at the wedding? What would you advise them to do about it?
Okay, so I'm going to give a very technical answer to this question. If you have got a complete list of everybody that has given you that gift and you can you have an ability to get them tracked, then you can exchange the cash that you receive in any other ordinary transaction. But if you do not have trackability of that gift, then the onus will be on you to prove that it was received only during the gift. And if it is, then there is the question of the donee-based gift tax, which would be leviable on you, and therefore this could get pretty complex. So I think the new norm for weddings is going to be like in the US. You will have a website from which you can pull out the gift you wish to give and pay for it through electronic transfer of money. That's going to be the new norm in our Indian weddings.
Though for Ruxana, who gets married on the 12th of November, Ruxana, congratulations. I must congratulate you. I hope you have a wonderful life ahead. What can she do with that money? Can she just go to the bank, show them the card, show them the photograph saying, hey, I got married and some of my friends palmed off their 5,500 rupee notes at my wedding? The bank should be willing to exchange. What if it runs into, say, 5 lakh rupees, Mr. Haribhakti? Would you recommend she can do that?
I mean, she has to make sure that if the question is asked, it is trackable. It is fully itemized.
All right, so make a very clear note, Ruxana, of each of the guests who came in and what they gave you and what that amount was. And go over to the bank. I'm sure that, on the 12th, there will be a few people who will maybe give you new notes or 100 rupee notes, but keep a track of those who give you the old notes. You will know then to set those friends aside. Dhirendra, we always talk about this. People who write into us on Investors Guide and talk about these massive amounts of money that they spend on weddings, that they start planning when their daughters are 2 years old. Now, Ruxana is right about the fact that a lot of those payments get made in cash. for the hall, for the caterers, for the music, for the DJ. What does she do over the next few days when she can't make those payments in cash? And I'm worried about the amount of money she's holding right now at home or her family is holding at home. What advice would you give them?
No, this is actually a big problem for those, one-time big spending to be done, because most of I myself, got a call from a relative who is getting married in few days' time, and they have all the money to be paid to the caterer, to all these people. So this is a one-time crisis, but I think, in future, this very act is going to legitimize all the vendors, even the flower decoration fellows, the caterers, they will be forced to shift to, taking money in a legitimate form, and this will end the menace of cash, because right now a lot of these businesses are unorganized, or they are actually cash businesses, and these businesses, many of them don't pay taxes. So once again, this is once again a situation where in the short run there will be all kind of crisis. And if you have taken money back from your bank, if you have actually withdrawn your money from the bank, then it is absolutely no problem. You can get back to the bank, deposit your money and take it in the legitimate denomination, or in the, the one which will be a legal tender from tomorrow onwards. You will be able to do that. But long term, it is going to, it is only going to drive legitimacy of the underlying businesses which only deal in cash today.
All right, so if you have cash at home and there's a wedding coming up in the family, take the money back to the bank and deposit it to the bank. Tell them, show them where the money came from. It's completely legit, and that will happen. And for the guys with the band baja and the barat, tell them to accept checks or an online payment instead of cash. That would be a good way to go. Subhavel is on the phone line from Tamil Nadu. Go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah, hello ma'am. I'm Subhavel from Tamil Nadu.
Yes.
Actually, my parents are into agriculture. We are holding more than 19,000 of banana trees, which is going to be ripened by tomorrow. We want to harvest it. So we don't know how we are going to sell it and how we are going to fetch the money.
Well, this is something that came up in the previous show that we did, Mr. Haribhakti. A large portion of the agricultural sector is still cash-based, and that will be largely affected. What recommendation would you have for someone like Subhavel whose family deals with cash because it's agricultural?
There's no problem, because agriculture income is used for only grossing up your other income. So whatever is the actual cash which is received in agricultural operations can be converted to legal tender just as any other large sums of money can. So there's no issue whatsoever. It just has to be properly accounted for, properly tracked, properly explainable.
As long
just
as
the documentation will go up.
As long as you can properly track it. I'm going to very quickly slip this question in. Pranav is on the phone line from Hyderabad. Pranav, what's your question?
Hey, hi, hello everyone, and good evening.
Good evening.
So my question is due to an untimely demise of one of our colleagues, we had collected a corpus amount of funds. So I was the spok for this. So I have collected around 70,000 rupees. So out of which 30,000 I have deposited in my bank account so that I can create a check and give it to his father. The reason being we collecting this corpus amount for his family is because he was the only person who was earning from his family. Now the position in which I am right now is that I have a 40,000 rupees
in cash. Yes.
In cash at my hand, and I do not know how do I tell the bankers that this is some amount that I need to give. I mean, I need to give it to some family, and this is the kind of social contribution we are doing.
All right. Shailesh Haribhakti, I'll come to you very quickly with this. But first, Pranav, my condolences to your colleague's family, and I think it's wonderful what you and your colleagues are doing for them. Mr. Haribhakti, he can just change it to other cash and then give it to the family after the next 3 days.
Absolutely. There is no reason to panic, no reason to worry. He has got it from legitimate sources, from legitimate people who he can identify if the need so arises. And he can certainly show that this is money that he has, which can go back into his bank account and come back in legal tender. No problem whatsoever.
problem whatsoever. We've run out of time on the show. I have about a minute to go. I want very quick advice for both of our guests, for our viewers. There does seem to be a sense of panic. I think the only problematic points we found in this entire conversation is someone who's getting married, who's going to have to sort of go through a technical process of explaining where those cash gifts came from and how they will exchange it. But mostly it seems like the system is there, although albeit slightly delayed, but to accommodate everyone. Is the advice really here not to panic at all?
Absolutely. There could be great inconvenience. There could be concerns about certain kind of businesses for a long time. It has also the potential to disrupt many of the businesses which never got legitimized or they never got accounted for in the organized economy. And this will create some problems, some issues, even social issues. But by and large, the overall benefit so handsomely, outweighs the trouble or the inconvenience that I think we should, as the Prime Minister said, that just, live with this inconvenience or reconcile with this for a day or two, and things will be taken care of. And I don't think anybody with legitimate income, with accounted for income and wealth, they have anything to worry.
All right, Dhenendra, and Mr. Shailesh Aribakti, I have to wrap up the show. I can't thank you both enough for giving us time so late in the evening to answer questions that our viewers had. I'm sure our viewers really appreciate your time as well. Thank you both. Thank you for those who called in. And remember, we're here on this channel to help you through the next few months as we sort of settle into our new system and understand the impact, like Dhenendra said, on various aspects of our economy. But it's a big, bold, courageous move by our government, and it can only mean good things for the economy and for investors in the long run. So sleep well, don't panic. Thanks for watching.
Explore, challenge, success, an ever-evolving journey. Blackberries.
Imagine you had this guy's attention and his boss's. Yeah, her. And his hotshots, who doesn't know that these guys looking at you will one day rule them all. What if the whole world looked to you? Would you step up and inspire? Johnny Walker, The Journey. Keep walking.
लाट साहब के लिए खीर बन रही है।
अकेला है वो शहर में।
अकेला वो नहीं, मैं हूँ। अब वापस नहीं आएगा वो।
जिसे खोजे नैना तेरे, आएगा क्या वापस?
The result shows that all these seasonal diseases can be easily prevented.
Congratulations, Siddhanand. We'll see you in Australia.
Thank you, doctor. माँ?
ऑस्ट्रेलिया जा रहा है आपका बेटा।
वापस आकर क्या करोगे?
शहर में रहकर आगे की पढ़ाई करूँगा। जो मुझे यहाँ मिलता है, वो मुझे कहीं और नहीं मिलेगा। मैं पहले डॉक्टर बनूंगा, फिर ही गाँव वापस आऊँगा। हमेशा के लिए।
सपने हुए बड़े जब टेक्नोलॉजी से जुड़े, इसीलिए मेक फॉर इंडिया के तहत सैमसंग स्मार्ट क्लास दे रहा है मॉडर्न एजुकेशन जवाहर नवोदय विद्यालय के 2 लाख से भी ज्यादा स्टूडेंट्स को।
और हरी भाऊ, क्या मिला शहर में?
हीरा।
आज और एक एक्स की शादी अटेंड कर ली।
How did you have so many exes? What's your type?
थोड़ी क्रंची, थोड़ी सॉफ्ट, थोड़ी सी चटपटी और थोड़ी स्वीट टाइप्स।
थोड़ा मुंह बंद रख और अपने हाथ से काम चला।
YY noodles, थोड़ा देसी, थोड़ा foreign, munch it, soup it, lunch it. YY, tasteful, dill houseful.
All new Ford Endeavour with terrain management system. Because we want you to feel on top of the world. Ford feels like family for a change.
Papa, we are receiving calls from the bank repeatedly. Have you not yet repaid the loan?
Beta, market condition is not right.
No, Papa. Whatever we are today, is only because of Dena Bank's help.
I'll get in touch with Dena Bank right now.
I hope we ended the festive season of Diwali with joy and new hope. Today, I'll be speaking to you about some critical issues and important decisions. Today, I want to make a special request to all of you. You may recall that economic situation in May 2014 when you entrusted us with an honors responsibility. In the context of BRICS, it was being said that the eye in BRICS was shaky. Since then, we had 2 years of a severe drought. Yet, in the last 2.5 years, with the support of 125 crore Indians, India has become the bright spot in the global economy. It is not just we who are saying this. It is being stated by the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. In this effort for development, our motto has been Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. We are with all citizens and for development of all citizens. This government is dedicated to the poor. It will remain dedicated to them. In our fight against poverty, our main thrust has been to empower the poor and make them active participants in the benefits of economic progress. The Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, the Jan Suraksha Yojana, the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, small enterprises, the Stand Up India program for Dalits, Adivasis and women, the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala scheme for gas connections in the homes of the poor, the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana and Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana to protect the income of farmers, the Soil Health Card scheme to ensure the best possible yield from farmers' fields, the E-NAM, the National Marketplace scheme to ensure farmers get the right price for their produce. These are all reflections of this approach. In the past decades, the specter of corruption and black money has grown. It has begun the effort to remove poverty. On the one hand, we are now number 1 in the rate of economic growth. But on the other hand, we were ranked close to 100 in the global corruption perception ranking 2 years back. In spite of many steps taken, we have only been able to reach a ranking of 76 now. Of course, there is improvement. This shows the extent to which corruption and black money have spread their tentacles. The evil of corruption has been spread by certain sections of society for their selfish interests. They have ignored the poor and cornered the benefits. Some people have misused their office for personal gain. On the other hand, honest people have fought against the evil. Crores of common men and women have lived this life with integrity. We hear about poor auto rickshaw drivers returning gold ornaments left in the vehicles to their rightful owners. We hear about taxi drivers who take pains to locate the owners of the cell phones left behind. We hear vegetable vendors who return excess money given by customers. There comes a time in the history of country's development when a need is felt for a strong and decisive step. For years, this country has felt that corruption, black money, and terrorism are fast-running swords holding us back in the race towards development. Terrorism is a frightening threat. So many have lost their lives because of it. But have you ever thought about how these terrorists get their money? Enemies from across the border run their operations using fake currency notes. This has been going on for years. Many times, those using fake 500 and 1,000 rupee notes have been caught and many such notes have been seized. Brothers and sisters, on the one hand is the problem of terrorism. On the other hand is the challenge posed by corruption and black money. We began our battle against corruption by setting up an SIT headed by a retired Supreme Court judge immediately upon taking office. Since then, a law was passed in 2015 for disclosure of foreign black money. Agreements with many countries, including the USA, have been made to add provisions for sharing banking information. A strict law has come into force from August 2016 to curb Benami transactions, which are used to deploy black money earned through corruption. A scheme was introduced for declaring black money after paying a steep penalty. My dear countrymen, through all these efforts, in the last 2.5 years, we have brought in 25,000 crore rupees. It's not a small amount. 1,25,000 crore rupees of black money belonging to the corrupt. Honest citizens want this fight against corruption, black money, Benami property, terrorism, and counterfeiting to continue. Which honest citizen would not be pained by reports of crores worth of currency notes stashed under the beds of government officers? Or by reports of cash found in gunny bags? The magnitude of cash circulation is directly linked to the level of corruption. Inflation becomes worse through the deployment of cash earned in corrupt ways. The poor have to bear the brunt of this. It had direct effect on purchasing power of the poor and the middle class. You may yourself have experience when buying land or a house, that part from the amount paid by check, a large amount is demanded in cash. This creates problem for an honest person in buying property. The misuse of cash has led to artificial increase in the cost of goods and services like houses, land, higher education, healthcare, so on. High circulation of cash also strengthens the Hawala trade, which is directly connected to black money and illegal trade in weapons. Debate on the role of black money in elections has been going on 4 years. Brothers and sisters, to break the grip of corruption and black money, we have decided that the 500 rupee and 1000 rupee currency notes presently in use will no longer be